Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Beauty. My name is Juliana. Today's video is going to be a full face look minus the high look. The high look is in a separate video. I don't know when that's going to come, but today is all about the foundation, the base, the primers, and how I put together my foundation look in essence really. So if you like to know how to create a flawless base, a flawless look, a makeup look that will last you over 12 hours, then please keep on watching. Okay, the only thing on my skin right now is Alpha Arbutin, The Ordinary from The Ordinary. That's all I have on at the moment. So I'm going next with the Revolution Eye Heart Avocado primer. Well, it's like a serum and primer at the same time. To be honest, when it comes to skincare, I'm not exactly sure what it does, but I just use it as a primer in terms of moisturizing my skin, you know, to the fullest, because all the products I'm going to be using are mostly mattifying products. If you're new to this channel, I have an oily skin and almost all the products I use are mattifying, so I like to moisturize my skin to the fullest. So what this does is it's going to keep my skin moisturized under all the mattifying products I'm going to use, so that my skin doesn't dry out and the foundation doesn't crack. So now I'm going in with my moisturizer, and I use Clean and Clear oil-free moisturizer. It's not mattifying. This literally doesn't do anything really. It just keeps my oil at bay. So I gently pat it over that avocado primer. So now I'm going to let that sit for about 5 to 10 minutes. This is why I do this before I even do my makeup at all. This is part of my skincare. So I would have used the serum, used the moisturizer, and then just wait for about 10 minutes before I start my makeup. So I'm going to wait and let it sink into my skin. Okay, it's primer time. So I'm going to be using 5 or 6 primers today. I know it's a lot. It takes me about 10 minutes to adequately prime my skin, and that's non-negotiable. If I do it in a hurry, I might be able to manage between 7 and 8 minutes, but I do not cut corners when it comes to my primer, and as I use them, I'm going to tell you what they do. Alright, the first primer I'm going with is the Hourglass Mineral Veil, which is an OG for me. I've been using this for years. What this primer does is it makes your makeup stay in place. So basically it gives it longevity. So even when you are sweating or whatever, you can sweat as much as possible as long as you don't dab your skin. When your skin dries, all your makeup is just going to dry as if nothing ever happened. So that's what this does. It's going to make sure my makeup lasts for a long time. And I use this regardless of what kind of makeup I'm kind of having, whether it's powder, liquid foundation, whatever. I always use this, especially in hot weather. Alright, the next primer I'm going with is the Urban Decay All Nighter Long Wear Foundation Grip Primer. Is a lot. But basically what it does is it helps everything else that you put on your face grip onto your face. Also what this does is it makes your foundation dry faster when you apply it on your skin, so be very careful. All these things are very adaptable depending on what you are using on your face. So sometimes if you change your foundation, basically you have to be mindful of the kind of primer you are putting on your skin. So if you are using a very drying foundation and you use this primer, it might be a bit of a disaster. But if you have like a watery foundation that doesn't dry too quickly, then this is perfect for it. But basically what it does is it just grips anything I put on my face. Now is going to help it stay there and not move. And this also makes the makeup last longer as well. So on a daily basis I don't use all of these, but I'm going to be filming today and I'm most likely going to be doing more than one video. So I really need this makeup to last for at least 8 hours, and I don't usually take pictures until after I've finished everything. So all the picture, well, let me say most of the pictures you see they are taken like hours after I've applied my makeup. So this is how I achieve that. Alright, for my overall mattifying primer, I really need to choose between these two. So this is Maybeline Fit Me, and both of them are new to my collection. I used to use the Urban Decay. I can't remember what the name is. I'll put it on the screen. But basically that was the mattifying primer I used to use, but I can't find it anywhere. So I bought these two during the Black Friday sales. They are both mattifying. This is matte and poreless, which means mattifying and kind of like covers your pores, and this is just silky matte. So I don't know. Plus this is like silicone like feeling, and this is like a normal liquid primer. So I don't know which one I want to use. I think I'm going to go with the Maybeline Fit Me. I've been using this during the week and I like it because I use a cream foundation during the week. I like this. I can cut corners, just put this only and then apply my cream foundation. But today I'm going to use the Maybeline Fit Me Poreless Primer. and this is the consistency. So it's like it's just like the Urban Decay one I used just now. So the feel on this one on the skin is quite different. It's silky and almost like you can feel it clinging onto your skin, which is good because it's supposed to be poreless. So I'm assuming what it's doing is closing up all the open pores so that no foundation or anything sticks into your skin. So looking at it now in my mirror, I can really see a little bit of blotting my pores, kind of like closing it up, well, temporarily really, because when it comes to pores, for you to close, you really need some sort of permanent solution. But this is like a temporary solution just for today to give me like a flawless look. So yeah, I can feel it kind of like gripping onto my skin, not too much, but I can feel the effect, if you like. Yeah. All right, next I'm going with my Can't Stop Won't Stop primer, which is like a heavy duty mattifying primer. So I only use it for my T-zone. So I'm gonna dab a little bit on my chin, on my nose, on my forehead, side of my cheeks. This is where I usually get the most oily, so I'm going to tap it in. So again, with this primer you have to be careful. Depending on the other primer you use, this can ball up. If I had used the Be Perfect primer, this will be balling up. As it is, I can see a little bit. Okay, I've tapped it in. So just literally tap it in. Alright, I still have one more primer to go. The last primer I would normally use is the Urban Decay Optical Illusion, but I'm not going to use that yet. I'm going to prime my eyelids now. So going in with Natasha Denona's eyeshadow primer, I'm going to lay that on my lid to prevent any oil coming through. And I'm also going to put that in my smile line. If you've seen my favorite video, then you know that I do not do without this. Every time I do my face, I usually use this primer, regardless of whether it's powder, cream, or whatever it is. I usually put a primer in my smile line and as well as on my eyelid. So what this is going to do is going to prevent any oil from seeping through my lid and stop any oil from ruining my eyeshadow or going through my already set foundation look. Okay, now that I've scared you with my look, I'm gonna go with my orange color corrector. This is from Revolution Beauty, which I cannot find anywhere. This is my last one, so I don't know what I'm gonna do when this finishes. As it is on its last leg, so I'm having to dig in to get the orange bit of it. So what I do is I just kind of like dab it under my eyes. As you can see, I've got very bad dark circle, and that's because I don't like sleeping. I don't like sleeping. If I have my way, I'll have a 26-hour day. I also tend to put a little bit around my mouth, not because it's dark, but because when I speak, I don't want my foundation to disappear, you know, from the side of my mouth, whether I'm eating or whatever, you know, opening and closing your mouth kind of thing. It helps my foundation to last longer on this side. So I'm gonna now dip my finger just a little into the container, just because I don't have enough with the dabbing, and then tapping the orange corrector. So I tend to kind of bring it a little bit closer because my dark circle really extends way down, and I put a little bit on my eyelid as well. And the good thing about this corrector is it does not do anything on my foundation, does not transfer. I don't come up with an orange look. It just stays there, nothing moves it. Alright, now going back to my last primer, which is the Urban Decay Optical Illusion Primer as mentioned. I am going to now block my pores properly, as in nothing nothing is still open. So I tap a little bit around where my pores are most evident, which is my nose, the side of my nose, under my nose, and a little bit around in between my forehead. So literally just tap it in to fill all those little holes. Is a lot. If you are going to apply makeup, you might as well apply makeup full face. This is a full face and I want it to be flawless. So this is a flawless look. I mean, there are days I usually have a 5-minute look, but today is not one of those days. This is a full face foundation look. Right, now that that's on, we are ready to rock and roll. So for my foundation, I can't tell you a particular name because I mix my foundation together. I can try and list down what's in this tub for you. So For example, I never do without my KVD foundation. There's also Estee Lauder foundation, but I'll try and list this in description section. But I just mix my foundation together because that's the best way I found. I don't have to think about it, whether the skin tone is right or whether the texture is right. And I also don't do buildable looks. I just put my foundation on and I'm good to go with one layer. So just dotting it all over my face, and then I'm just going to blend all in one go. And then whatever is left on my finger, I'll put it on my blender. Alright, it's time to blend. So it's all blended in now, and as you can see, the orange color corrector hasn't seeped into my foundation. My foundation just has one color, which is kind of like and my foundation is usually a mix of yellow tones and orange tones. I think that's the best way it kind of blends into my skin and kind of take account of my neck as well. So I'm not putting too much around my neck. In fact, I hate foundation around my neck, so I'm just going to leave it like this. Bronzer is going to finish the work. Okay, I'm gonna leave the foundation on for about 2 minutes or so, 2 to 5 minutes to dry. In the meantime, I wanted to show you the brushes I'll be using. I featured this in my Black Friday haul, I think. So I'm gonna be trying some of these brushes out, and I'll let you know which one I'm using. Alright, for my concealer, I'm using Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Sculpting Concealer. This is what I've used for possibly, well, since it came out really, and I don't use anything else. I don't try anything else because this is the only concealer I found doesn't kind of add to my under eye creasing. Now I have natural creasing under my eyes. No, doesn't matter what I do, whether I have products there or not, I have creases under my eyes. But this does not add to it. This is just perfect, and I find that this works for all of my foundation. I don't have to think about it. It just works. I normally use that first because I usually like it to dry. I mean, stay there for a few minutes. So I use that first, then I'll do my bronzer. Okay, the first brush I'll be using is the dense creamy contour brush. Normally I use my fingers, but for the purpose of this video and testing out these brushes, I'm going to be using a brush for my contour and bronzing. So I'm first going to go with my Danessa Marix cream bronzer, which is kind of like very dark. I'm just gonna dot that. Ooh, gosh, I think I took too much. This is why I use my fingers. Put that all over everywhere I would normally contour or bronze. Yeah, sure, hope I can blend this out. Like I said, this dries very quickly, especially in combination with that primer, that one of the primers I used, the Urban Decay one. So I'm now going to quickly take the Revolution one, which is lighter and is more kind of like my skin tone friendly. So it's kind of like brownish. It's like, can you see? It's kind of like changing the color. Yeah, so it's no longer like very dark as it was before. So it's all well and good using this brush to kind of apply my bronzer. I'm still going to use my beauty blender to blend it out. So this is where I kind of like fake it till I make it and chisel my cheeks in. Since the pandemic started, I've kind of like been gradually gaining weight, but which I'm trying to lose now. But in the meantime, I'm going to fake it, and this is how I fake my chiseled cheekbones. So I bring my bronzer quite near to my mouth. I know some people don't. I kind of just follow the shape of my face. So even without makeup, I know that I have a dip just there. So by bringing it towards my mouth, it kind of emphasizes the, hollowness of my cheeks, which is not there, which we are trying to fake. So whatever is left on the brush, I'm going to put it on the back, on the bottom of my beauty blender. Just dab it there. And hold on to that just in case I need more. I usually blend out my bronzer first to further give my concealer more chance to dry out. So this is where I then now blend into my neck. So hopefully there's a little bit of blending going on with my dark neck and my light chest and light face. So this is how I hope to kind of bring the two together without having to put foundation on my neck. then I'm gonna pinch it a little bit and blend down my cheeks. Look at how silky it's just laying down on my skin. And I never contour my nose with a cream bronzer. I always do that with a powder. So if you are wondering if I'm avoiding my nose, I do not put any cream concealer around my nose. Okay, that's that. So it's time to blend out my under eye concealer. So before I do that, I'm first gonna reblend. As you can see, there's a bit of creasing on my eyelids. This is what I'm talking about. I've got very oily eyelids. So I'm gonna blend that first before I put the concealer on top. But once I put the concealer on top, it's just going to stay there. Regardless of how long I leave it, it will never crease again. Okay, time to blend out the concealer. I'm just going to take that on my lid, around my nose, and under my nose. And a little bit on my forehead as well. Okay, now time to blend it into my bronzer, which is what I usually do. As you can see, there's a little bit of demarcation there. So I turn to the back of the blender again and kind of blend out where they meet. So I blend the concealer into the bronzer. So I go back and forth with the bit I use for my foundation and the bit for my bronzer. Okay, I'm going to blend the second eye and I'll be right back. Alright, in terms of setting my face, I usually set my under eye first, and I'm going with Pat Mcgrath. Like a skin fetish something, but that's how I set my under eye. And I'm going with their brush, and it's the Sculpt and Blend face brush. So that's what I'm going to use. It's the first time I'm using this brush, so I really hope it's not going to ruin my makeup. The brush seems to be working, but it's taking longer than my usual brush would normally take. Now this is the brush I normally use to set my under eye, and it's a BH Cosmetic brush. And as you can see, it's kind of like got a pointed dome. At the same time, it's got like an edge. So to lay the powder down, I'm just going to use it so you can see the difference. Can you see? So this kind of like just lays it down and it fits perfectly under my eye. I mean, admittedly, this is supposed to be like a blending contour brush. So I might use it for my powder bronzer and see if, you know, because that's what it's supposed to be used for. Yeah, this sets my under eye perfectly. I love this brush. I've had it for years. I think I bought it as part of a BH Cosmetics set. Okay, an extra thing I do for my under eye. Like I said, I have creased under eye. So what I tend to do, if you find when you do your makeup and you set your makeup, then your under eye starts to crease again, is because you need an extra setting. Right underneath where it creases, you need an extra pressing, and that's what I do with this brush. So this is a Real Technique brush, and it's quite small and kind of fits under my eyes. So what I do is I focus it under my eyes. So I roll my eyes upward and just press down. So this is like concentrated right underneath my eyes. So what this will do is any bits that your normal brush misses, this brush doesn't miss it, because it's in close proximity to your under eye. It's just going to seal in the powder to make sure that there is no gap. As an extra touch, I'll pinch my brush and literally press it into my under eye. Make sure that there is no liquid, no wetness sitting there. It's all powdered up. That's my under eye set. I also use this extra effect as well for the side of my nose to make sure it's all sealed in, because sometimes you can miss the side of your nose and it's still got a bit of wetness and then your foundation starts to crack. This is how you can correct that. Make sure that the powder is sealed in. But I'm jumping the gun now. Let's set the whole face. Okay, for the rest of my face, I usually set with the Too Faced Peach powder, but I don't know where that is at the moment, so I'm going to use my Shein one, which is like my cheap option. It is what it is. For this bit, I'm going to use the Flawless Finish powder brush. So this is LaRoc's Flawless Finish powder, and I'm going to list all these brushes in the description section as well. So again, remember, this is the first time I'm using all these brushes, so that's what I'm going to be using to set the rest of my skin. Now, to be real here, I don't know how people do this on their clothes and it doesn't get all stained, so I'm going to cover up because I don't want to change my clothes after this filming session. So I'm going to tuck in a bit of kitchen towel right under my because the only other option is to do this off camera, but I want to do it on camera, so I'm gonna lay this down. Now taking the Shein powder. Now I don't really like it because it goes all over the place, unlike my Too Faced powder which just literally lays on the skin, but it is what it is. I don't know where it is, so this is what I'm using today. So I'm just gonna gently kind of like lay it on my skin, just gradually. This powder is also mattifying, so what I'm doing at the moment is just kind of laying it on top of the foundation. I haven't started blending or anything. I'm just using it to seal the wetness. Alright, I think right now every wetness is sealed, so I can now start blending the powder. So this is where I kind of like put an effort in my wrist. So it's just a wrist work now, and then just intensify the way I'm patting it on my skin. So literally just setting it in. I'm not blending or anything. I'm just setting my face. And then as mentioned, I usually seal in the side of my nose. So I'm going to pinch the brush. Going back to my face. Now making sure everything is blended together. Yeah, I think my skin is well and truly mattified. Yeah, it kind of look very mattified right now, but don't worry, once I finish everything, it's all gonna come together. Right, that's my face all set, so we are not gonna stop there. There's an extra powdering session. Okay, going in with my normal powder, which is the Milani mineralized compact powder. This usually end up on my face one way or the other. Once I've set with a loose powder, I always go with a pressed powder, and which is this Milani, and it's the only powder I use to kind of I want to say the final step as far as powders are concerned. Is the only one I use. I do have like a Charlotte Tilbury one that I bought recently, which I do use sometimes, but such kind of things are not like an everyday kind of powder. The Milani one is my favorite. Okay, taking off this tissue now. I think we should be good on the powder. Don't know if you can see. Can you see the dust of powder? Yeah, I'd rather not that on my clothes at all. It's bronzing time, and I'm going in with my Beauty Bay chestnut bronzer for a start, and I'm going to use that on my nose. So I'm going with like a pinch brush. I think this is what Zoeva, I think 100 or 103, whatever. I'll put it on the in the description section. So what I do is I just put this lightly on the side of my nose, then blend it in on the other side. I like to put a lot at first and then I'll blend it out. Also blending it into my lid as well, so right there. Now pinch the brush and first of all try to blend it out with this brush. I'm also going to put it on my chin, my double chin. Try and slim that down. Am I the only one that is trying to lose weight at the moment? If you are, you know, let me know in the comment section. You know, let me know what you're doing. Give me tips, because I don't like to do extreme weight loss. I just try and do something that I know that I can adapt and I can keep to, rather than something temporary. I want it to be part of me, you know, like eating lesser portions or stuff like that, drinking more water or whatever it is I need to do. Alright, okay, I think that is that, and I'm going to use the leftover on top of my Cupid's bow, just to try and emphasize that little, I don't know what they call it, that I have on top of my lip. Okay, and I think that's that with this powder. If not for this video, the Beauty Bay would have been what I use all over my face, but for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to use the Charlotte Tilbury hairbrush bronzer, and that's what I'm going to use for the rest of my face. And I'm also going to go in with LaRoc's Sculpt and Define contour brush, which is kind of slanted, so it's definitely a contour brush. I'm gently going to take this on my brush and then just put everywhere that I put my cream bronzer as well. I like to use the bronzer on my neck as well, just to kind of further seal in that blending in terms of merging the tone of my skin to my neck. I use the bronzer. I rather the bronzer than the foundation, because I just hate stickiness on my neck or my skin, you know, apart from my face, you know, with the face when I'm used to it. So now my cheeks, when it comes to here, I'm going to use it like this, but towards my mouth I'm going to pinch the brush just so that I have better control. Alright, for the, as I get closer to my mouth, yeah, I'm just going to pinch and dab. Yeah, the faces we pull when we do our makeup is ridiculous. Okay, I think it's all well and truly laid down now. All that is left is to blend it all together. So for that, I'm going to use the powder brush I abandoned earlier. So I'm going to now blend, and I'm using one of my Milani powder. So this is like a deep version. Number one I used was warm. It's my normal color. This is like a shade darker than my normal skin tone. I usually use this to blend out my bronzer into my skin, you know, so that there is no demarcation. So I'm kind of like bringing it forward. So where that bronzer starts, I kind of blend it towards my powder shade. And I do the same on my cheeks as well, so that you can't see any demarcation. Or at least reduce it as much as possible. It's time to blend out my nose as well. So just blending it in, reducing the darkness of that bronzer, so that I can blend better into my skin. Yeah, you see, makes so much difference now. But I always prefer the intensity at first, and then tone it down rather than struggling to build it up. I haven't got time to be building anything up. Okay, and I think everything is blended to each other now. I mean, you can still see the line, the clean line under my bronzer, because I want that, you know, to show, so that there's a difference in my bronzer and my skin, without having to like set, or I don't know, like people kind of put white powder or lighter powder on. I haven't got time for that, but I'm hoping that everything is still showing, and the places that are supposed to be highlighted are highlighted. Yeah. Alright, I'm gonna quickly do my brows, and I'll be right back, because I have to be up in the mirror when I'm doing my brows. So I'm just gonna do it, and I'll be back for the blush and the finishing touches. Alright, brows are done, and it's time to set my face with my setting spray. So first I'm using the one that is gonna help my powder to kind of settle down, and it's Elf Makeup and Mist, which is one of my favorites. I haven't turned it to you yet. There. Elf Makeup and Mist. I'm just gonna wait and let that dry. I mean, in all honesty, because of the avocado primer that I put in, it's already come through my makeup, and it's kind of giving it a settled look without me even spraying any setting spray. I mean, that's what I found is I hardly have to set my face with any setting spray any longer. At most, I use a finishing spray, like maybe oil control, or I want it dewy or something like that. And then once that's dry, I always use Urban Decay All Nighter, and this is just going to help my makeup to last longer as well. Now, normally if I hadn't gone in with that under eyes, extra setting under my eyes, once I've used my second setting spray, it's just going to ruin my under eye. But that no longer happens ever since I've been doing that extra step. Finally, as a finishing spray, I'm going to be using the Tilbury Hairbrush Flawless Setting Spray. I'm yet to determine what this thing does. Because of everything I use on my skin, my mattifying, I can't tell whether it does mattify or not. So I'm still testing it out. So once I know what it actually does, I will let you know. But this is going to be my finishing spray today. This has a very nice smell to it. Okay, while that's not completely dry, I'm going to apply my highlighter, and today I'm using the Black Magic Uoma Beauty Black Magic Carnival highlighter. I think it's called Barbados. This is my favorite highlighter, but it came to me kind of broken there, which is why I don't use it often. But this highlighter is the best of the best. It just literally melts on your skin. I mean, look at it. Even when I press it, it's like I don't even know how to describe it. It was bulging out before, but when I used the brush to press it, it kind of just sunk in, almost like there's a permanent glue, moisturizing glue inside it, but it's so silky. I'm gonna use that on my usual place, which is on top of my lips. Oh, look how beautiful that highlighter is. I'm gonna put a little bit in the middle of my nose and on top of my nose. Oh, look how shiny it is. So beautiful, and it smells amazing. I can't place the smell, what it is exactly, but it smells so nice. A little bit on my chin. And I've got 1 or 2 pimples there. Let's just highlight the pimple. I'm going to tone down the same highlighters, don't worry. Right now I look like a Christmas tree, and we are not going for that look. So I'm also going to put a little bit on my cheekbone, so just higher up and into my cheekbones. I don't usually put my highlighter where most people put their highlighters because I think it doesn't suit me. So I like to put it a little bit on my cheeks and then pull it up into like the ridge of the side of my face, because I can't see any bone there at the moment. I don't know whether it's because I need to lose some weight or I just don't have it, whatever the case may be. I usually just try and patch it up higher up on my cheekbones there, and then bring it in a little bit into my cheeks like that. I mean, let's not mind the texture that is there already, but and the brush I'm using is actually a Real Technique one. It is a beautiful, fantastic brush, honestly. That's what I use for my highlighter, and it just sits right there on my cheekbone. So good. It's my best brush for highlighting. Finally, I take my powder brush and then just kind of tone it down and blend it in. So nobody wants to shine like a Christmas tree. And I also use it to blend the one on my cheeks into my skin, really, so that it doesn't look as if it's just sitting there with no kind of correlation, if you like. And by the time I apply my blush as well, it helps with the blending. I mean, normally I usually do my blush first before I do my highlighter, but because my face was still slightly wet, I wanted to use that to my advantage. Okay, I think it's toned down suitably, apart from the one on my nose, which I'm going to leave like that because it's going to eventually be fading gradually. Alright, for my blush, I'm going with the Plouise Blush, which I did buy for Black Friday, but because I couldn't find it when I was doing that video, I didn't kind of feature it. The shade is called I'm So Worthy, and I'm going with my OG blush brush, which is a Juvia's Place brush. It doesn't have a name, but this is what I always use for my blush because it just helps you know, kind of lay down the blush well on my cheeks. So I want to kind of go for orange today because I think it's going to go with the color of the eye I'm going to do. I'm not so sure. If it doesn't, I will change it later on, but this is the blush. Oof, wow, it's nice. Yeah, very nice. I tend to go very OTT when it comes to blush. I'm going to build that up. Hey, nice. And I'm going to put a little bit on the side of my face as well. On my forehead. Hopefully it doesn't look too much away from the light, because right now the light is making it seem as if it's okay. It might not be, but it does look okay to me looking at the camera. Okay, this is what my face is looking like before I finish up everything. Right now I'm still wearing my bonnet, but I'm gonna go take off my bonnet, put on an appropriate head wrap, whether a wig, whatever, a scarf, and I'll be right back to show you what the finished look to all this looks like. Alright guys, I'm back and this is the completed look after I've applied my eyeshadow, my lipstick and my earrings, and I also had to put on my headgear. So this is everything. I did film this eye look. I don't know which one of them is going to come first, but I did film it just so you know. So please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my videos. Just going over everything I did with my face today. I mean, like my primers, you don't have to use all those primers at once. That's just what I like. I don't find foundation exciting. I will use any foundation, £5, £20, whatever. I will use any foundation. Concealer, I don't find them exciting. The exciting bit for me is the primers, you know, how I apply my primers, which will in effect affect, you know, the overall look of my makeup. That's the exciting bit for me. So I do take care when it comes to such a thing. So you don't have to use all of the products I've used today. You can focus the primers, for example, that I use to whatever issues you have with your skin. If you have large pores, then use the primer that is meant for large pores. If you have oily skin, use the one that is meant for oily skin, you know, and so on and so forth. So you don't have to do exactly what I did today. I just wanted to show you what I normally do when I'm filming, or I'm going to a party, or I'm going to be out for like 13 hours. This is what I usually do, and that's how I do my face, really. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've enjoyed hanging out with me. Please let me know what you think of the video format. Do you want me to talk more, talk less? If you have enjoyed this video, please like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. And until next time, I'll see you. Bye.